friends, welcome back to the channel. If you guys don't know who I am, my name is Divyanka and I'm a doctor of pharmacy here in the US. On this channel, I hope to provide you guys with resources to help build that ideal professional life as I work on and build my own. Today, we are talking about letters of intent and specifically for postdoctoral fellowship programs for PharmDs. Now, this video is actually not on my docket at all, but in the last, I would say, week or so, I have gotten so many messages about letters of intent, how to approach them, what they are, if I can give any guidance. So I thought it is high time I make a video about this. It is mid-year fellowship season right now. And because we're in a virtual world, it is working very, very differently. And basically every company and every program is running on their own. So if you guys have any specific questions, feel free to reach out. But of course, applications are rolling. The process has started. So if you guys are looking to write your letters of intent and don't know where to start, I really do hope this video is helpful. First, let's talk about how a letter of intent is different from a cover letter. I do personalized letter of intent and cover letter reviews. If you guys want to check that out, check out the FocusRx website link down in the description bar below. But I have them separate for a reason. Although they're kind of very similar, there's a small distinct difference, and I just want to highlight that because in this case, I do think the difference matters a little bit. So generally, if you guys have applied for jobs anywhere, you are asked to submit a resume and a cover letter. Your resume, of course, lists out your work experiences, your education, your skills, things like that. And your cover letter is really to highlight why this company, why are you applying to this role, and companies want to hear from you and don't just want to see a templated resume and want to actually see if they want to talk to you after reading that cover letter. Now, the first difference is that a letter of intent is probably a little more focused than a cover letter would be. Now, generally, you do want to make cover letters specific to a company, but in this case, a letter of intent is to highlight why this program, why this company, and why you. Why is it more focused and specific? Because we're specifically talking about fellowship programs here, and you're going to be addressing the programs that you're applying to. So you have to make it extremely specific to the functional area that you're applying to the program and company you're applying to, and all the details that come with that. I know that's a really minute difference, but here your takeaway should be that your letters of intent for your fellowship applications should be extremely, extremely focused and specific, again, to that program, to that company, to that functional area. Now let's dive into how to approach writing a letter of intent and what to include. The first thing you want to make sure you include and have is the correct header and the correct formatting for the header, the salutation, and all the things above the actual letter. In the last 2 weeks, a lot of you have actually purchased my personalized cover letter and letter of intent reviews. And for these letters of intent, my first comment has been that the header is either inconsistent with what it should be or inconsistent with that person's resume. Now, for the header, I want you guys to take a step back, look at your letter of intent and your resume, and really look at it like a holistic application. These are two documents that the interviewer is going to be getting together, and you want to make it look like it's actually coming from the same person. So the number one thing that I've actually noticed is that the header, the top of the page, looks very different for the same person between their cover letter and their resume. So I would definitely make that consistent. That's what I did. And again, I think it brings the whole thing together. It shows that you're detail oriented, and those are the kinds of things that's easy to show. You don't have to say it. You don't have to use those words in your letter of intent or in your interview, but just making that little change and making sure that the headers are consistent between both documents actually says a lot about you. I made sure I did this for every one of my applications, and again, I think it just adds so much, even though it's just the formatting. So make sure, again, your header, whether it's your name, your address, your phone number, your LinkedIn, everything should be literally copy-paste from your resume to your cover letter. Now for the salutation, fellowship programs make it extremely easy to know where to actually address your letter to. Most fellowship programs will actually have this written out for you. So they'll usually have a professor's name, comma PharmD, comma maybe MBA, or any other salutation they like to go by. And then after that person's name, you definitely want to put the College of Pharmacy or whatever program. So if it's the Rutgers program, writing Rutgers. If it's the MCPHS, Northeastern, you get the idea. And then putting that school's address or the address that the fellowship program writes to write your letter to. Make sure you do look for this detail because again, when I was applying, most fellowship programs actually had the exact address, exact person to reach out to and address your letter to. So that's again another detail you don't really want to miss out on. Next, now before you actually write this letter of intent, you want to do your research. Research the program, research the company, and research this specific fellowship role. You don't want to write this letter blindly. The whole intent of this letter is to show why this fellowship program, why this role, and why this functional area. So you might as well brief yourself on the information that these companies have out there on the specific program already, and then approach writing your letter. That way, naturally, you're already going to make it more personalized for this program. Now, the first place to look for information on all of these things is the brochure. All programs, all companies have a fellowship brochure that they update and release every single year. And not just for your letter of intent, but you guys should be reading these brochures because they have all the information that you're going to want to address in your interviews, talk to people about, ask questions about. It's all there, so you might as well brief yourself on it and then again do it before you actually write this letter of intent. Outside of the brochure, do more research, look these companies up, look at the news, look at how they're being addressed, what they're talking about. Now we have technology, so even go on LinkedIn, look up the first and second year fellows or alumni fellows of this program, look at what they've done, look at what they've said, reach out to them, talk to them. Do robust research so you know what you're getting yourself into and also so you can actually sound like you've briefed yourself on the whole thing. Next, before actually writing the cover letter, I want you guys to take some time out to make a list of 1 to 2 things of why you think you are a good fit for this company, and then 1 to 2 things of why you think you're a good fit specifically for this fellowship. You guys want to list these out before you even start writing your letter because it's going to really help you frame that letter. That's the information they're looking for you to say and talk about in this letter. So write it out as your outline. You guys don't need to do an actual outline, but again, listing these 2 things out, why you're a good fit for this company and why you're a good fit for this fellowship, will really, again, help you actually make the points you're trying to make. In your letter of intent, the next thing you want to make sure of is to not just recite your resume. Again, you are handing in your resume with this letter, so you don't need to reiterate it. They're already most likely going to have them side by side, so concentrate on specific things from your resume. You can definitely pull some things out, but do not make a laundry list of things that are already on your resume. On your resume, you should kind of have blatantly everything that you've already done, your work experience, your history, everything about you is on that resume. And so your letter of intent is really your chance to highlight what you think is the most important and what you think you can actually bring to the table. It's your chance to actually show them that value before you even get into the interview. This is an opportunity, so use it like that. Make sure you're talking about every single thing you actually want to focus on. Now let's get into the paragraph structure of your letter. I would say generally you want to have 2 to 3 paragraphs max, and you want to try to keep your letter of intent to half to a 3/4 page length. Now, it really depends on how you write it. You want to be as concise as possible, but I know that it's hard sometimes, and I know it's hard to keep it to a half page sometimes. So again, do what you think is best, but just make sure there's not fluff, it's not too lengthy, and it's not boring to read. Now, I say 2 to 3 paragraphs because it really depends on what you want to highlight and how you write it, but generally, I think 3 paragraphs is a really good format. For your first paragraph, you want to make sure that it is grabbing the reader's attention. Even if you start it with, I am interested in this program, make sure you are grabbing the attention of your reader, making sure you're already stating the value that you bring to the table in that first paragraph. If that first paragraph is boring, chances are they're just not going to read onwards, and obviously we don't want that. So make sure you grab the attention of the reader, but in the correct way. And what I think is the correct way is, again, by listing that value at the forefront. Now, how? What do we talk about in this first paragraph that actually conveys, look, I am valuable and this is why? I think the best thing to include is really your most fitting accomplishment. So by most fitting, I mean not only your biggest, best accomplishment that you are most proud of, but most fitting to that company and to that role. So if I'm writing a cover letter to a fellowship program, I'm not going to list something like selling 1,000 paintings as my best accomplishment. Now, of course, unless that's something you can actually tie to why you're applying for this role. But generally, I hope you get what I'm saying. You definitely want to come off as confident and proud and accomplished, but make sure it actually fits that role. I think so many times, and of the letters that I have reviewed, it's very easy to list why you think you're valuable, but actually assessing if that thing is valuable for that company and for that role can be much difficult. So again, make sure it is the most fitting accomplishment. Also in the first paragraph, you want to list out what you think are the top qualifications for this position and how you meet them. This can be a sentence or two, but again, addressing this is what you're looking for and this is what I bring to the table. Lastly, you want to end this first paragraph like you would an essay. We have all been taught that when you are writing an essay, at the end of your introduction, you list out what you are about to get into. Do the exact same thing for your letters of intent. You want to not only grab the attention of your reader, but entice them further and show them, look, this is what I'm about to talk about, and therefore you should read on. Again, giving the reader a reason to stay there and read the whole letter. So this can be in list format, this can be in whatever format you want to do, whether it's listing out why this fellowship and then going into them, whether it's listing out what you bring to the table and going into them, whether it's talking about your experiences, listing them out and then going into them. Whatever you want to list out here and however you want to approach this, make sure you talk about what is to come in paragraph number 2 and 3. Now, for the middle of this letter, for paragraph 2, you really want to take a deep dive into why you're a good fit for the company and for the role. So earlier I said when you guys are prepping, list that 1 to 2 things for each category. This is really where you're going to pull them in and talk about them in depth. Walk your reader through what you are trying to convey and why you think that's valuable and why you think a person with this kind of accomplishment, with this kind of work experience can actually add value in this fellowship. If you guys can't sense a theme throughout the letter, you really should be focusing on what the company is looking for, what the company needs, and how you can offer that. Make it about them. Center the whole letter on them. Everyone is selfish, and at the end of the day, this fellowship program is looking for the perfect fellow. So if you just place that answer in front of them saying, this is what you're looking for, this is what I have, and this is why we're a good fit, then there's no real arguing with that. You laid it out for them, they can read that, and then they'll be like, yeah, that makes sense, and that'd make a pretty good fit. That's the kind of response you're looking for. So again, make it about them. Then we make it onto paragraph number 3. And in this last paragraph, you definitely want to, again, highlight your strengths, highlight your value, finish off your story that you've been walking them throughout this whole letter, and wrap a bow on it. So again, make sure you highlight what you're bringing to the table. And although I've been saying this a lot, in every paragraph, you want to highlight it in different ways. There's a lot of things that you could focus on, tie it back to your experiences, to things you have done. And I'm not asking you to be redundant, but in every paragraph, definitely cover that value portion. In the past 2 paragraphs, you've talked about your experiences, things you've done, accomplishments you've made. And so in the 3rd paragraph, you really want to focus on why this all matters to this fellowship program and to this company. Then, of course, after that, you want to just have a blurb of thanking them for their time. If you can make this unique and not the general thank you for your time and consideration, then definitely try to do that. If not, that note is just fine. And then, of course, sign with a professional note and your name. Now for that end signature, it's actually a really nice touch to actually have your signature. So whether this is a digital signature or a written signature that you scan, having that and then your name typed is actually a really nice touch, and I did do this for my letters, so just wanted to add that little tip there. And of course, that's where you end your letter. So it's a pretty easy format, I think, to follow. And I think where people get the most tripped up is really making it a whole story. So focus on what you're actually conveying to the reader, how it's coming across, and how you're actually going to assess that is having other people read it. So whether it's a colleague, whether it's a fellow student, whether it's a faculty member, or me, if you guys want to sign up for my personalized reviews, having someone else read this is the most helpful way for you to gauge, is what I'm trying to say actually coming across? I said this in my resume video last week, but it's really important to do that because you are so close to your own experiences, your resume, what you've done, how you think that matters, and why you're applying to this program, that it can be really easy to just get lost in the words. If you ask someone who doesn't know your background or doesn't know you well enough to know those things, you're gonna get feedback on, is that story actually being conveyed? What pieces are missing? What can you actually emphasize more? What is that other person looking for? So again, make sure you have other people read your letter of intent after you've written it. But overall, I hope these tips were really helpful for you guys. Again, a lot of you have reached out, so I've made this specifically for this week. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna push my other videos, put this out this week because I know that it's time sensitive. We are already in the middle of application season, so I do hope this is helpful for you guys. If you guys have any follow-up questions, as always, feel free to reach out. And for your personalized resume, cover letter, letter of intent reviews, the link is in the description bar below. As always, thank you for stopping by. That is it for today, and you guys will see me in the next video.